Welcome to this week's episode of Kingdom Calls. We deal with all things GA in the county, and in particular this weekend we're coming to the business end of the Kerry Petroleum Club Championships, the club semi-finals at senior, intermediate and junior premier, and of course we have the quarterfinals of the juniors thrown in as well. And if you really want to know what's happening in Kerry, there is a minor Keen Super Value Minor County Championship quarterfinals on Thursday night, but more about them next week. Now, it's like the biblical expression, the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. And when it comes to the podcast and my guest this week, it's down to one, and that's John O'Dowd. John, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Murt.
So it's myself and
John Kennedy let us down, we have to say.
Yeah, really let us down this weekend. He doesn't check his WhatsApp messages. It's pigeons they use out around SD, I think. But I'm sure he'll be back next week. Clive is taking a break, and Clive O'Callaghan will be back in with us as well next week. And Damien Stack could come in from the Ladies' Beach in Ballybunnan to join us probably next week as well. But today I have the Oracle himself, John O'Dowd. John, how are you today?
Not too bad.
And I suppose looking forward now to the action over the weekend. And just briefly in general, last weekend, despite the terrible weather, and I was in Gallery, so I know what it's like, and it was similar all over. It was some action, some, excitement, a lot of late winners. Everything you want about club football was last weekend.
Yeah, when you consider that there was 10 knockout matches in the championship last week between senior, club, intermediate and junior premier, and I think at least 6 or 7 of them went absolutely right down to the wire, to injury time, to late scores, to drama, to controversy, to genius. There was a bit of everything on offer. Like, there was only a couple of games that the result was known long before the finish. Probably Ballymac against Ballyduff in the junior premier. Then you had Legion and Glenflesk in the intermediate. The other 3 intermediate games were absolutely right down to the wire. Both senior matches here last Saturday night in really difficult weather conditions went all the way down to the wire, and even some of the action in the junior premier as well on Sunday was fantastic. It just tells you the margins between these teams. Like, it's really just a kick of a ball. It's a bit of luck. It's a moment of magic. It's a refereeing decision. It's just a bit of it. Anything can decide these games, and you can't predict with any guarantees what's going to happen from one weekend to the next.
Yeah, you've got a pretty good record on predictions, actually, although Beaufort and the Podinka beat you down, let you down. Tell us a bit about that. I think that's John C. O'Shea. We'll have to give him the patent on that, possibly, the Podinka.
Correct.
But that goes back to the Paninka in 76, isn't that right? Czechoslovakia and West Germany, and penalties, and this guy just washed up. Everybody was smashing it past the keeper and everything, and this guy just dinked it over the keeper, put the keeper the wrong way, and ever since it's the Paninka. But we had our own Podinka and Paddy Clifford and the brothers, and obviously was it Harry Buckley that shared this?
It was obviously we'll be going into the intermediate in more detail soon. You probably want to start on the senior club, but just on that moment in particular, we'll discuss it in more detail. But it was just Harry Buckley. Like, Beaufort had the ball, they were on the attack. They'll be so gutted that, like, conditions were really difficult. It was slippery. Hand passes nearly had to go directly to hand, or there was a chance he could lose it, and then Harry Buckley, just the ball dropped, and like, if he had tried to get it into his hands, he probably would have been tackled and surrounded, and he would never have got the clearance up the field. So he just booted it down. It wasn't to anybody in particular. And David was behind 2 Beaufort players. They had the advantage in the race for possession, but he just took off like a gazelle, like at full pelt. And then the pickup on the run in slippery conditions on a rainy day, windy day, and then the instant hand pass to Paddy, who we've spoken so many times about their telepathic understanding.
Yeah.
Paddy was expecting David to do what he did because he wouldn't have made the run otherwise.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was taking a chance, but he had a fair idea that his brother was going to get there. And then when you consider the finish, I think he turned inside Sean Kelleher, and the first time you look at it, you say to yourself, he's just going to tap that one over the bar to get the equaliser. But it's only when you look at it the second time, it was like a little, I don't play golf now, but people would maybe call it a little sand wedge or something
with
like
backspin.
that.
Yeah,
with a backspin on it. And like he was following it up anyway to flick it into the net if it didn't go in one go. It was just amazing. And when you hear his explanation afterwards, you can see clearly that he did mean it. Yeah, and like even his explanation that he didn't want the game to go to extra time against Beaufort on their home patch.
Yeah.
Like
he could have tapped it over the bar, punched it over the bar, like no.
Oh yeah, easily like. And I think
if Sean Coffey was in goals, would he been able to? Sean did his ACL, didn't he, or whatever?
Yeah,
when he outfield. And if he had been in goals, nothing against the keeper that was in there, but if he was in goals because of his height, 6 foot, whatever, maybe he'd have got. Maybe he.
I don't think so, because I don't think Sean Coffey would have been expecting that shot either. I wouldn't have any blame on Fionn O'Neill, the goalkeeper, in that moment, because how could he have known what was going to happen? You know. Yeah. It's just an unbelievable moment of magic. And
the good thing about it is it's on social media. It's gone into it's unbelievable the amount of views and the amount of reposts. Anybody who put it up, I think mine has been surpassed now by another member of our thing, which is very, very hard to take. But we leave JC off. He's very, very popular.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, these moments are not there if it isn't for the work of our production crew. And John C. O'Shea was the man who got the whole clip and the whole shot, from the clearance up the field.
That was so important.
To the
clearance and the sprint. But on a more general point, before we head into the senior club, I think the streaming and clubber, what they have done for exposure of club and the club players down here and the inter-county players playing club, and the nature and the quality of our fair down here has got national recognition all week. It's been on News Talk, it's been the Independent, all the papers, some of the reporters nationally who wouldn't be used to, that see the Kerry players, they know David Clifford and Paddy, but they're absolutely aghast at the quality of the fair down here.
Well, you know what it is now. It's like, obviously, you've always had your local newspapers and your local radio stations concentrating on domestic activities within each particular county. And that was and is and always will be a community service. But now you have Clubber, you have Stream Sport, you have other companies, and this is just as important a community service as what you're seeing in other aspects of life.
But the diaspora, for example?
Yeah, for people abroad, for people in different counties, for people in hospital and nursing homes, for people who can't get out. Like the weather was bad last weekend, so there would have been people who generally would go to games and they mightn't have been able to go last weekend just simply because of the weather. So you're bringing them to the heart of the action. Like we had 10 games from Kerry last weekend. Like every single knockout fixture was shown live in full. This weekend, Clubber are going to break their own record. They're going to reach the milestone of 100 live fixtures this weekend, which go back to the start of the pandemic when this thing was only an idea, and you realise how quickly things have moved over the space of 4 or 5 years. Really, there was nothing good that came out of the pandemic. But if you were to pick one particular aspect, this is definitely one of them, because at the time people couldn't go to games. There was an opportunity to broadcast them in a different way to the general person at home, and now it's just gone into overdrive. It's just absolutely massive, and it's not going to slow down. No. It's just going to get better and better over the next few years.
It's unreal. And talking about 100 and centuries, there's another Kerry man who went to the same school as David and Paddy Clifford, who had the same, what do you call him, person to look after him, the word escapes me, and that's Oshin Murphy. And Oshin is on 98 winners. He's expected either today or tomorrow to hit the century. He's about 25 clear of his nearest rival. The Jockey Championship in England is over in the middle of October, well, early October actually. So it looks like bar in complete accident, that he is going to be crowned champion jockey again.
And that would be the second year in a row.
It would, and it would be, I think, the fifth in total. He's won it 4 times already. And imagine that small school, the 2 mile school has produced David Clifford, Paddy Clifford, and Oshin Murphy.
Yeah, it's
incredible.
It's unbelievable,
That's
really,
small,
and it's great to see.
Nanny, I suppose, is the word I was looking for. The woman.
It's great to see Oshin Murphy thriving, because he epitomises what a lot of sports people and just a lot of people in general go through in their daily lives. It's not all
battles to have. It's not
all positive and glory, and you know, every one of us have our own particular demons, and sometimes you have to fight against yourself even to make it to the top.
He's a book actually coming out
it'll be a fascinating read.
It'll be a fascinating read. I'm really looking forward to reading that. So it was Oshin well, and we hope that as Clubber hits their 100 this weekend, that Oshin, he's had a load of seconds and thirds recently. He must be totally frustrated, but he will, I think, definitely over the next couple of days. If he hasn't done it already today, by the time this podcast appears, he could be on the 100 winners. Right, let's go into the Kerry Petroleum Club Championship action. And both of us are here on last Saturday evening. Briefly touch on the 2 quarterfinals before we discuss the semi-finals. And in the first one, the Gaeil, surprise packets, I suppose. They're on a roll. And they took out Dingle, albeit a depleted Dingle side. But then we had the one-man show in the second half by Paul Gainey with his 6 2-pointers. Almost rescued the situation and snatched victory out of the jaws of defeat for Dingle. But Gaeil, thanks in the main, I think, to the leadership qualities of Diarmid O'Connor and Jack Barry. And Jack's point and Kieran O'Connor's point late on was the difference between victory and defeat for them. But a real... in the weather, a real good encounter, a real contest between both sides, particularly in the second half.
Yeah, it was funny. I was out in Ballymac for the junior premier game at 3 o'clock. So I was only making my way into Austin Sack Park, and it was half time in the first game. And I looked up at the scoreboard and I saw the 110 to 0-2.
Yeah.
And then you knew straight away that, wow, there's a serious wind here. And it's having a big impact on the game. And then you sit down and you watch the second half. And in fairness, like, the biggest thing for Gaeil, I think, was maybe with 10 minutes to go, Dingle had pretty much wiped out the big lead that Gaeil had. And they had the wind.
Came to within a point, actually.
Yeah, they had the wind at their backs. And they had Paul Gainey absolutely flying. And at that stage, you would have said Dingle were favourites to go on and win the match, even with all the absentees.
Yeah.
So Gaeil, they got 2 points in a row at one stage there. I think it was 113 to 0-15, and they got 2 in a row to bring them up by 3 again. That was the winning of the game.
The 48 minutes, it was the point. Then they got the 2 points. And then Paul got his 2-point free in the 52nd to 53rd minute. Dingle didn't score again. They'd only one score in the last 12.
Yeah.
They had, but they didn't score while the lads kicked on and scored 2 points.
They did everything. They were just a bit wayward with their shooting in the last 5 or 6 minutes there. Even Paul himself, who had kicked some brilliant scores, he was off target
Barry
1 or 2.
Was on him at that stage instead of Stefan. And I think he...
Excellent man marker, Fergal Barry. He did the same against Paddy Lane in the match in Kilcummin in their first victory against Austin Stacks. He's well able to blot out a player. Tom Leo had a really good chance, better chance than Paul Gainey, close to the end as well. He'll be disappointed that he didn't get a score in that situation. But we just have to take our hats off to Gaeil, because, look, everyone knows they were 100 to 1 in the bookmakers at the start of the competition, and they've come through.
Are you on?
No, I wouldn't be a betting man in general. So they came through Austin Stacks, they came through Temple No, now they've come through Dingle. they're fantastic results. And it just goes to show you, when you have a man in charge who knows the scene, Donny Rooney, when you have all your best players, or the majority of your best players.
In that diamond, Andrew, Jack, Diarmid, and Oshin Murphy.
Huge. Like, they didn't have them for the county league. And like Andrew and Fergal have suffered a lot from injuries as well over the last 18 months. Enda O'Connor, he's been really important. Stefan won a couple of big kickouts in the last few minutes when they needed a ball winner. Jack Barry has settled back in seamlessly. Like, it's like he hasn't been away from the club, and that's what you get when they're a united force.
And Jack Sheehan had a 2-pointer.
Like, he's an asset to the forward line as well, as is James O'Connor, and like a lot of lads have come back from the hurling as well. Even Conor Bohan to go in between the posts.
His kickouts.
Niall O'Mahony. But Dingle, I don't think Dingle will be overly disappointed. Of course, they would have liked to have won the match and qualified for the semi-finals and got another game. But Paul is fine now. So Paul is going to be going into the county championship in good fettle. They got Niall Gainey and Matthew Flaherty back on the pitch. They haven't played for ages. So it was important to get some minutes into them. Obviously, Dylan, Conor Gainey, Tom Sullivan, Conor O'Sullivan, Micheál Flannery, Barry Dan, they're still down an awful lot of bodies. And of course, any chance they have in the Bishop Moynihan depends on getting some of those bodies back onto the pitch. We obviously know Barry Dan won't be there. So everybody else at this stage, maybe there's going to be a chance.
It's the 5th of October.
We just have to wait and see,
And they might get a bye to the 12th of October.
There will be Kerry players who are getting clean-ups done at the end of this club championship, probably, that are carrying injuries where work needs to be done to have them back to go full fettle in 2026, So we can't be sure at this stage who's going to be available and who's not. But overall, Dingle can take a lot from the way they're battling with maybe half a team missing.
Rathmore then in the second game, they were 5 points down and looking like with 10 minutes to go that they were in trouble against Austin Stacks, who had a lot of possession, a lot of play, but didn't deliver in the way that we expected. Maybe Stacks thought. But again, I would say about Austin Stacks and Darragh Long, new man in, a lot of young players coming on board. It'll take time for them, I think, to knit in. And it might even take next year before we see the best of Stacks. But they are a common force with that minor team and under 21 team that they had. So how do you see that game? A lot of resilience and fighting and battling qualities by Rathmore.
I think, first of all, from an Austin Stacks perspective, I think they will look at the second quarter of the match as the period where they possibly lost the game. They got off to a good start. Paddy Lane was shooting well. Cian Purcell got a goal. They were 1-4 to no score up. And then it kind of all went a bit pear-shaped with the breeze. They only added one more point between then and half-time. They were 8 points ahead. They should have pushed on and even got close to the way the Gaeil Dingle scoreline was after 30 minutes, but they couldn't. And Rathmore got the last 3 scores of the first half, and that was absolutely vital. They went in only 5 points down when it should have been at least double that. But I was impressed with a lot of what Austin Stacks did in the second half. They, after the Brian Friel goal, they really, really responded against the breeze this time now. They went 4
They carried the ball well, didn't they?
They did. They ran from deep. They were much better, I thought, against the breeze than they were with the breeze. Paddy Lane and Cian Purcell scored 111 between them. Greg Horn was excellent, I thought, at centre-half forward, dictating a lot of the play. So I don't think we can go
Heinrich with as well going forward, and Jack O'Shea very
Dylan
good.
Casey trying to go forward. I don't think we can go with the old narrative that has been fair a lot of times over the last few seasons, that Stacks forwards let them down. I don't think that was the case.
No, I don't think so either. No.
What was the difference, I think, was obviously Rathmore, they never do give up. And when they found themselves 112 to 1-8 behind, they had to respond. And I think arguably he's one of the best players in the entire club championship so far is Andrew Moynihan at midfield for Rathmore. Not alone did he stop Joe O'Connor from being a force going forward for Austin Stacks. And you're talking here about the best inter-county midfielder in 2025.
Yeah.
And Andrew Moynihan did a brilliant job on him, but played his own game as well and contributed a lot to Rathmore's forward play. He did the same to Mark O'Shea when they played Dr. Crokes in Lewis Road.
He's been plagued with injury throughout his career, last year in particular. And I remember he came on against Crokes and he got a late goal, I'm pretty sure, last year. The game was gone. But he's
definitely a player who's going to be on the radar of the Kerry selectors.
Yeah, Jack would be having a look at him. Now, let's turn towards pressing matters. This weekend, Lewis Road, 5:30 on Saturday evening. The first semi-final, the two teams we were talking about, Rathmore and Gaeil. Now, Rathmore are warm favourites. Gaeil are 7-4 for some reason, and it's 2-5. Now, is that based on Rathmore's pedigree? Although they were intermediate as well in was it 2021, 2022, they won it and went well. Were Gaeil up the year before them, I wonder, the senior? Gaeil won the intermediate in 2021. Yeah, so there's very little between them, but they have experience. They were down in Kenmare that day. You remember Keane O'Neill was down there watching a guy I know well. And they were down, Rathmore won that day against Kenmare, I think. And then they have shown against Crokes that they could possibly have beat them. Alex Hennigan rescued Crokes that day. So they're real good battlers.
Yeah.
By the way, as we talked about Rathmore, to be only right to pass on our condolences to Paul Murphy and indeed his dad, Donald. Donald's brother, John, was buried this week. I think he was up in Kildare. He was a teacher. He passed this week, so we'd like to pass our condolences on to the Murphy family.
Yeah, and of course, it kind of went under the radar a bit with what happened the following day, but Paul Murphy's fisted point in the closing stages of the game against Austin Sachs, I think it was off his left hand, which wouldn't be his favourite hand, was a fantastic score. And then you had Shane Ryan kicking a 45 to ensure the win. So they're getting a lot of leadership from their midfield players.
Midfield's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Andrew Ryan and mine.
And Cathal Ryan against
eventually.
Could be Jack and Stefan, or if Diarmid moves in and out of that section. Yeah, that's going to be a fantastic battle. Alan Deneen is playing great stuff for Rathmore as well from half-back. And young Kieran Collins, the way he took that penalty on Saturday night against Stacks, and it probably was a little bit of the softish variety. I haven't seen it back now on video.
I've seen it back. Did you? You didn't? You don't know? You didn't know was it a penalty, or would you?
It was a little bit. I would say it was a little bit soft. That's only our first viewing.
Yeah,
Mark Ryan, I think it was, who was fouled.
Yeah, I looked back on it and it looked like Mark Ryan. It looked like Ronan Shannon had his arm around him, but I don't think he didn't pull him to the ground. But once Mark felt the contact, he obviously went down. So, sometimes those are given, sometimes they're not. Wouldn't blame the referee at all. It looked an obvious penalty, but when you slow it down and look at it, I wouldn't be 100% sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a penalty, but I wouldn't be 100% sure.
Rathmore got a few players back onto the field now over the last couple of weeks, including Mark Ryan and Mark Reen, and they got Fionn Murphy back last week, so that adds to the options at David McCarthy's disposal.
Brian Friel come off, did he?
I think he's okay, yeah. He's playing well now, and he's a very, very important player for them. I'd like this should go down to the wire.
Yeah, David.
There shouldn't be much between these two teams.
David McCarthy was saying as well, he didn't obviously know at that stage who they were playing, but it turned out that the two teams who played the last 3 weekends are playing each other. And Crokes, who've had a 3-week rest, and Kenmare a 2-week rest, are playing in the other one on Sunday.
It's probably fair.
So it's fair.
Has turned out. Let's not beat around the bush here. Both Gaeil and Rathmore will be pleased that they're playing against each other.
They will.
And that they didn't get Crokes and Kenmare.
Yeah, and both of them will think they have a very good chance of beating the other. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah. That's why it really is a 50-50 game, and it'll be small margins again that'll...
Would you think Rathmore maybe just...
If I was to just come down on one side or the other, I would give a hesitant vote to Rathmore.
Yeah, well, you know where my heart lies, but my head would say Rathmore just by a short head.
Should be a fantastic evening in Lewis Road on Saturday night, and it's great as well.
What kind of a club are in Lewis? Who plays in Lewis Road? What kind of a club is there?
We won't interrupt our producer now, seeing as there's just the two of us this evening.
Yeah,
keep him happy.
We keep him happy. We won't disturb them. I don't know who they are. Is it oh no, it's the Crokes. Anyway, on to the second semi-final on Sunday, the clash of the big two. Dr. Crokes are favourites for that box office. Shawnee O'Shea against Gavin White potentially. You have Mark O'Shea there. You have Tommy Cronin on the other side. You have Stephen O'Brien. You've Donald Down. You have Tony Brosnan. You know, all these guys are fit. Gavin O'Shea. Brian Looney is still around. Evan Looney. Shane Murphy. Kieran Fitzgibbon in the other goal. This is like an inter-county game.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
They'll survive in Division 4 of the National League.
It's a mouth-watering prospect. Like, arguably at this moment in time, when you consider the players that Dingle are missing, you'd have to say that these are the two best club teams in Kerry right now at this moment. That might change when we get to the county championship, but right now they would be considered the best. And the fact that they're drawing against each other in the semi-final is absolutely intriguing.
What do you think Pat O'Shea has been doing with Crokes over the last 3 weeks? Because they weren't impressive in the group stages, right? They topped the group and they got through, but it certainly wasn't the Crokes that
I think there were mitigating circumstances behind that though. When you have 7 players away with the Kerry senior team all the year, and you had Tom Doyle and Cian McMahon were in America as well for a while. So they missed out on maybe 5 or 6 weeks of training as well with the squad. So you're just getting everyone back together then at the same time. And it doesn't automatically gel. Like, the biggest thing from a Dr. Crokes perspective is 2 games where they're not at their best. What were the results?
They won.
Yeah,
won both, yeah.
They won. And Mikey Lynch is injured, a big loss as well. Kerry under 20 starter.
Yeah.
So he's going to be out for a while. Remains to be seen how close Charlie Keating, maybe the 3 weeks, have put Charlie back in contention for a place on Sunday, and he'd be a huge asset if he can come into the fray here. But Crokes are Crokes. Look, we know that they will be sharper. Their teamwork will be better than it has been in the previous games, and they'll be up for this match because they might consider Kenmare as pretenders to their throne, and they'll want to put out a message to them and to all the rest of the teams before the Bishop Moynihan starts that, we're still the top dogs, we're still the best team, and we're going to show you on Sunday.
The other thing about Crokes, I think they always like to have the safety net of winning the club championship, and if the likes of East Kerry, say, or Mid Kerry or the new North Kerry were to win the county championship, a district team, or St Kieran's, well, or St Brendan's, well, then you're looking at Crokes being representatives in Munster, and they like that. So that's another driving motivational factor for them. What about Kenmare? Tony Buckley in with them, Mickey Ned, great manager, shrewd man, smiles at us, talks to us, tells us very little though, because he's keeping the aces up his pack, and he has a lot of aces right now.
I think this is the moment for Kenmare to turn up on Sunday and put down a serious marker. They were poor in the first half against Dingle. They produced a brilliant second half to blow Dingle away. I think overall against Milltown Castlemaine, they got a little kick up the backside maybe that will stand them in good stead coming into
Could have been complacent, considering the way Milltown Castlemaine played.
Potentially they turned up for that game expecting that they were going to win, and then the red card issued to David Hallisey after about 20 minutes obviously had an impact. It turned out to be one of the games of the season, and the way Kenmare finished the game, even though they knew they were going to qualify and top the group anyway, they still didn't want to lose. So the fact that they came back at the very end from 4 or 5 points down and got the draw, they're definitely more satisfied at the end of the game than they would have been at the start. But at the same time, they know that huge improvement is needed if they're going to take down Dr. Crokes. Donald O'Sullivan is a huge asset that they didn't have last year. He's added an extra dimension to their forward line. 100%.
Yeah.
Stephen O'Brien is back, played really, really well the last day, considering he spent all the summer in Boston. He scored 1-5 all from play, including the 2-pointer at the end. Be very interesting to see where they place Sean O'Shea on Sunday, because I presume David Hallisey, because of the straight red. Does that mean he's suspended?
Yeah, it does.
So they might have to make alterations in around the middle of the field. So that'll be interesting to see what they go with there.
But you could have Kevin O'Sullivan out there.
Yeah, Kevin, of course, is back, and Griffin Wharton there in the middle of the field. So
they have Tangney to come in up front.
Jack Tangney only came on with maybe 5 minutes to go or less the last day.
And Tom Moran's
playing well.
Jimmy Lahan.
The interesting thing will be the backs. Obviously, you're going to have to try and tie down Tony Brosnan and Cian McMahon and Micheál Burns and.
But Gavin they have the Darragh O'Shea and Tommy Cronin. They have great man markers.
Tommy Cronin, Darragh O'Connor. They looked to have Darragh O'Shea missed the Miltown Castlemaine game with an injury. So whether he's available to return, and he's captain as well this year. So his presence or not will be a big factor in the game as well. So it's.
How is it that you were at that Miltown game, you were at the Beaufort game? How is it you were always the games of the season? Is it you picked them yourself, obviously, but what's the secret of your success?
I honestly don't know. I like when I was going to Miltown for Miltown Castlemaine against Kenmare, I certainly wasn't expecting the game to.
You actually said that Kenmare win by 12 points, didn't you?
Allegedly. No, I didn't. Allegedly, I think.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, and
who's going to win? Neil, you call to them as game of the season commentator.
Do you know? I went for what were considered the two outsiders last weekend in the senior championship, and they both came up trumps by very narrow margins. Do you know? I'm going to go out on a small bit of a limb here and say that this might be the afternoon where Kenmare Shamrocks pick off a massive victory.
Just because they gave you a room to type out your report, just because they gave you tea without milk and sandwiches, you're going for them.
No, I always get wonderful treatment in Dr. Crokes Club, especially from the Mothers and Others Club. So they'll be very very disappointed in this prediction.
They will, and that could cost you the next time. Because I'm going to go for. I think you're right, though, John.
It's a toss of a coin.
It's a toss of a coin. I think Crokes will be up for it, and I think if they produce their A game, they might just have too much at this stage. Maybe not in the county championship, but certainly now in the club championship. They have a good rest. Pat O'Shea will have worked them hard, mostly, I'd say, field work, ball work, as opposed to SNC or fitness, because they're fit enough. And I think it could be a classic, and I think Dr. Crokes is shaded by a couple of points. That'd be my verdict on that one. So that's
they undoubtedly deserve to be favourites, Dr. Crokes.
Oh yeah, they are. Now we come to the big one, and we always say at the start of this is one of the most difficult competitions in Ireland, and invariably we prove right. And this year is no exception. I mean, who would think? Beaufort were there with a great chance. They looked like favourites. Glenflesk were in there. Long Rangers obviously were beaten finalists last year. Listowel had shown great form and thumping and sending Long Rangers through the trapdoor. And now they're all gone. So we've Kilcummin and Fossa. Now Kilcummin and Listowel, I was watching some of that. Wasn't there myself, obviously. And that appeared to be some game and some winner by a man, the eldest in the team, I'd say. I'd say he's older than, maybe he's not. I'd say he'd be older than Brendan Keeley, Shane McSweeney. Todd, as they call him. Todd absolutely did a WWF maneuver going through and got I think just Pa Walsh out of his way by fair means of foul. It was a shoulder. The referee judged it to be shoulder to shoulder. Listowel would set the counter and say it wasn't and put it over the bar for the winner. But they both had chances for the winner. It was just incredible stuff. Matt Keane again came and played a huge game. It was lovely, O'Leary, Sean and Philip, and the defenders, Darragh Callahan, and then the other side, Joe Grimes. I mean, it was an incredible game.
It turned into a huge test of Kilcummin's mettle, And I think James Foley will be absolutely delighted that they came out on the right side of it. If you go back to the group stages, they were comfortable against Fireys. They were comfortable against John Mitchell's. They were comfortable against Fossa.
Yeah.
They won their 3 games without being really road tested.
Yes.
But they certainly got tested the last night by Listowel Emmets. They were 4 points up at half-time, Kilcummin. Mark O'Shea got the goal. But then in the second half, Listowel went into the lead. I think they went 2 points up at one stage.
They did.
And they were probably in pole position maybe to go on and win the game. So that was the moment where Kilcummin really were put to the pin of their collar. Were they going to stay in this championship, or were they going to bow out at the first opportunity when they got really pushed to the limits?
Yeah.
And they didn't. They managed to turn things around and get over the line by a point. Of course, it was hard luck for Listowel Emmets, and they've made huge progress as well this season, and they can look into the next couple of seasons with a lot of encouragement. But it tells you a lot about Kilcummin that they're still standing.
Yeah, Paul O'Shea came good. He probably, he would admit himself, didn't have the greatest first half, but in that final 10 minutes, when they needed somebody to stand up, he did. And Ken Gorman, another player, obviously, and Ned.
Keane Foley, did he get 4 points from play?
He did, yeah.
Playing really, really, really well. Philip O'Leary's having a really good championship. They're a very solid and compact team. If you go through all the lines of Kilcummin, they mightn't have a lot of big names in a lot of positions.
Chris O'Leary and Dara Stack in the full back line.
What they have is the teamwork, and they're used to playing together, and they have a very strong spirit now. And of course, they're going into a match on Sunday against a team that they beat by 12 points 2 weeks ago. They know it's going to be different, but that belief and the memories of what happened 14 days previously have to be an advantage to them.
Yeah. Talk to me. You were there. JC was there. Half the world will claim they were there. Half the Kerry were there. But the Podinka game, I mean, in all fairness, Beaufort looked like they had that one everywhere except on the winning line.
Yeah, it was
just like the Greyhounds solo and go belonged to Shane Inright and the lads and the 2 Clipperts are involved. And that the previous, in the first round of the Derby in Shelbourne Park, the previous week, had led all the way to the line and was just nicked on the line by a Greyhound coming on the outside. And then on last Friday night it was, the Greyhound decided lead again, halfway, well in front, but slowly was coming back to the field, but just held on by a short head or whatever it was, a head or a neck, and just got over the line. And I was saying to myself, that will probably be something like what's going to happen tomorrow, but I didn't know which way it was going to go, and it did.
Yeah, like Fussa went 4 points to 2 ahead, and Beaufort had the breeze at that stage, and you were saying they'll have to step it up a gear now. And they did. They dominated the whole rest of the first half. They were 11-5 ahead. They were really composed. They didn't panic. They got a couple of nice 2-pointers. Dara O'Connor, Liam Carey. They were dangerous in attack. Fergal Hallisey had a monster of a game. Jack O'Connor was very dangerous inside. They were competitive around the middle. Ethan Coffey was doing as good a job on David as anyone has done all season. But then just in the second half, I don't know, like they were against the elements, of course, at that stage. Was there something in the back of their minds that they were trying to mind the lead a little bit? Mm-hmm. It wasn't overly negative or anything of the sort, but I suppose psychologically they had the advantage and maybe they weren't pushing to the same degree to get more scores, Mm-hmm. At the same time, Fossa were just hanging in there without doing anything major. Then the first goal came from Paddy, brilliantly set up by Ted Gorman, Paddy Sheehan and Cian O'Shea. And Beaufort still responded. They were still in the lead. They still looked good for the victory. And then sure, what happened then is just 2 minutes into injury time, you get an unbelievable moment of magic. But to give credit to Beaufort, and even going back to it, Shane O'Sullivan, the Fossa goalkeeper, was absolutely vital in this victory. Yeah. When you think about it, he made 2 one-on-one saves from Jack O'Connor in the first half. If both of them go in, Beaufort are 11 points ahead at halftime. Maybe the game is over then. Yeah. And then you look at his save from Nathan Breen's flick before Paddy Clifford got his second goal. So if that goes into net, that was a stunning reflex save. So Beaufort will say, how unlucky were we? Like, if we'd scored just one goal, it might have been enough. And even after Paddy's chip, they came straight back up the field and Sean O'Brien had a rocket. Ronan Murphy found him inside, beat the keeper, cleared off the line by retreating Owen Talbot. So, like, where is your luck? Ian O'Malley and the lads in Beaufort, they must have been absolutely devastated on Sunday evening. They did almost everything that they could to win that match. And then it's just one moment of genius from arguably the two best footballers in the country.
Yeah, it's hard. That's why I actually went for Fossa to beat Beaufort, was the fact that once you have David and Paddy on your side, you can never really write off that team, regardless of how good your team is.
Yeah.
Because, as you say, one moment of magic. Talking about...
and the thing is, we have to give, obviously, the Clifford scored 2-9 of the 2-11 between them. So if you didn't watch the match, you'll be saying, look, it's a two-man team again. But
no,
it wasn't, because between the goalkeeper, his 3 big saves, between Owen Talbot for his goal line intervention, the work of Cian O'Shea.
Harry Buckley for that clearance.
Yeah, I was informed of that during the week.
Yeah.
Paddy Sheehan's runs in the second
half. You're not
half.
welcome in Fossa, you know.
In
one household.
Paddy Sheehan's runs from wing back were really, really good as well in the second half.
And remember that
Matt Rennie
was missing,
Rian Colleran was missing. Tyg O'Shea was missing. Rory Doyle was missing. They're all players that could be starting for Fossa on their day. So it's a huge win for Jerome Stack.
But now the big question is, obviously Kilcummin on their home patch beat them. But I commented in that game, and there was something about Fossa that day. They were flat. They appeared to be flat, right? They appeared. And it was only pointed out to me after that in the previous 2 years, they had won their quarterfinal away from home. This is the 3rd year in a row they won the quarterfinal away from home. I think one of them was in Castle Island. Were you there that day? I don't know, were you there or not?
That was the day. There was around 3,000 people
there. Was 3,000 people there, yeah.
No, I wasn't there that day.
No. And so they liked I don't know, I'm not saying they weren't trying against Kilcummin, of course they were. They'd like to have topped the group, but they didn't. But now this is not.
The only thing is I would say about that match is they mightn't have been overly pushed about winning the game or not. But they certainly didn't want to be hammered by 12 points.
Exactly.
They didn't want to go down in the second half by 15 points to 2.
No. So what happens then here in Oshin Stack Park, big pitch, there'll be big crowd, big occasion. We know who performs well in a big occasion. Kilcummin, I'm not saying this current Kilcummin team probably should have won the O'Donoghue Cup. They didn't without the Crokes. You know what I mean? The Crokes were, because they had other things in their mind, more or less without a second team in the semi-final. And they were all and got beaten in the final. Rathmore, I think, beat Kilcummin in the final. Kilcummin would feel they left that one behind them.
Well, if you look at the madness of last weekend, Fossa, it would be fair for them to be thinking, after what happened in injury time, our name is on the trophy. Similarly for Kilcummin, after what happened at the very end with Shane McSweeney, then you go to An Ghaeltacht with the late 2-pointers, which we'll discuss in a minute.
Yeah.
They'll be thinking, how the hell did we win against Guinea-Gwilla? So you have 3 teams there straight away who are thinking, wow, our name could be on the trophy. And then you have Killarney Legion, who
4 semi-finals in a row,
won by 10 points, and are thinking, we're slowly making progress as well, and we're surprising teams.
Yeah.
Maybe it's our turn. So it's totally.
That's why it's the most difficult competition. Like, you can make a call in the senior, you can make a call in the junior premier probably, but you can't make any call in these games with any deal of conviction.
They're
I'm going to ask you to make a conviction call, Fussa or Kilcummin.
I'm going to say that Fossa, and especially the Clifford brothers, are not going to be beaten by the same team twice in the space of 2 weeks. So I'm going to go with Fossa to get revenge in a very, very tight and small margins at the very end. A couple of points either way.
Yeah.
But I do expect the wide open spaces of Oshin Stack Park here as well will suit David and Paddy even more than a claustrophobic home ground somewhere else. So especially if they can get one or two players back, Fossa, who were missing last week.
Yeah. And remember as well, John, that it was only 36 minutes in that Paddy made his entrance against Kilcummin in the original game. And Paddy did what he did in the All-Ireland final to Donegal last Sunday.
Both managers are very shrewd operators as well, between
Absolutely.
James Foley and Jerome Stack. So
yeah.
it'll be an interesting battle on the sideline as well. But
I'd have to agree with you. I think Fussa, because of the confidence they'll have from winning a game that they could very well have lost and maybe should have lost.
They have to compete at midfield the way they did against Beaufort last week, not the way they did against Kilcummin.
They were destroyed out in Kilcummin. If they repeat what they did in Kilcummin a couple of weeks ago,
well, then they know they will lose.
They know they will lose, yeah. So I was in Gallerus because you decided that the forecast was bad for the Sunday. There was a storm, and Murt was on the horizon, and there was torrential rain. So you decided, who am I going to send there? And you sent me back there. So I went back with Shannon Wright, fellow Tarbert clubman and Buron, and it was incredibly rough conditions for a game. And really, anybody that knows Gallerus, even on a fine day, Gallerus and stuff, we couldn't see the Tree Drafair, or the Three Sisters as it's known. I was thought just Tree Drafure, but apparently Drafure in plural is Drafair. Now, you're not a scholar of Gaelic scholar, so you know nothing about what I'm talking. And for sort of 60 minutes of this game, it was really Dean McGillis with a better side. Rowan Collins was dominant at midfield, and they were just, they were Pádraig O'Connor. The centre back, he was outstanding. Pa Brosnan, the number 5, was going forward. John O'Leary was kicking 2-pointers for fun. And overall, Paddy O'Leary was gathering breaks at midfield. Paul O'Leary had a very good game.
Did they lose Sean O'Keefe to injury?
They did. They lost Sean O'Keefe after about 8 minutes.
Big loss.
Huge loss. They looked, so we were wondering at half time.
But they've been fantastic. John Horgan has done a fantastic job.
15-8 at half time. There were 7 up at half time. We were saying it'll never be enough with Aoin O'Connor. But Aoin's radar was slightly off, and that meant a difference. Now, he did get a number of 2-pointers in the second half. He scored 7 points in total. But still, they were struggling. Pádraig O'Shea, Paddy's son, the late Paddy, he was in fine form. Brina Bugley has had better games. Sean O'Quinn, definitely, he was driving down the middle and driving down the wing. The two Sutherlands played well, and Aoin O'Begley. But at midfield, both Aidan Walsh and Cathal O'Begley were struggling. And up front, Tomás Dunqueen O'Shea was okay. Rory O'Begley had only 2 points in the total in the game, and they were both frees. Tomás O'Shea, Ballymac.
Did they deserve to win?
I don't think so, to be honest. They were 5 down with going into injury time, and they kicked 2 points going forward to bring it back to 3. We still had 2 minutes and a bit left of Billy O'Shea's 5 minutes that he put up or whatever. And kick out came out. Dean McGillis were attacking, lost the ball, and it was worked to Cathal O'Begley, and he sent over a massive 2-pointer. So then they were still a point down, and then the kick from that Patrick O'Riordan's kick out, he fielded it. He fielded the ball, fetched it high in the air, and just turned and shot on sight over the bar again. Wow. We were looking out through a window that we couldn't see. Shane was trying to figure out who was it. I looked out through a slit and I saw it was Cathal, and they were point up. So, like your story in Beaufort, Dean McGillis still had a chance. Ronan Collins went down the field, Pádraig O'Leary down with the ball. The ball was turned over, hit over the top, and at this stage they had McAdald on, what's his name? Cian McAdald in, and Shauna Garvey was on, and young Corduff was on, and the ball went in, and just fielded inside, penalty, and he must have been told to the last game because Ian had put it over the bar. So a 2-point win. But if you were to ask me, I was talking to their manager Fergal after, and he was saying, I thought was gone. Honestly, that was smash and grab. And I think, in truth, Peamagilla deserved to win it. But, again, like every other finish that we've had,
great sign of a team that they didn't give up as well.
Yes,
so.
and the 2-point plays.
Yeah.
If under all rules last year,
that's
gone. We're gone.
The game is over, yeah.
But they're back and they're in it. And they're playing against Killarney Legion on Sunday in Milltown at 4 o'clock, am I right? And
I'll tell you how quickly things can change, Murt, in this competition. After 2 weeks, Glenflesk had beaten St Mary's and beaten Castle Island Desmonds. They had 4 points out of 4 in 2 games that they could have lost.
Yeah.
Legion had been beaten by Lough Rangers
here,
and they had just pipped Listowel Emmets by a point on a day when they could easily have gone out of the competition. So if you go back to those 2 weeks, you'd be saying, Glenflesk will definitely beat Legion when they meet them.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 2 weeks, the last group stage, Glenflesk came a cropper at home to An Ghaeltacht. Legion got back on the horse a bit in Coolard against Ballydunhoe. And I was there that day, and Legion showed signs that day that something was building within that team.
Who showed up for them that day and against Glenflesk as well?
Do you know what it was? It was something that they weren't spectacular by any means. It wasn't a good game. They won by 14 points to 9, but there was just a solidity, a compactness about the whole team. They got James O'Donoghue back off the bench that day just for a 20-minute cameo, made a big difference. They're strong in defence. They don't concede a lot of scores. Competitive around the middle of the field. Cian Gamble, great runner, running power. Jamie Alade, and then up front, Ryan O'Grady's absolutely flying at the moment. Finbar Murphy's dangerous. Peter McCarthy's buzzing around.
David O'Sullivan.
Owen O'Sullivan is brilliant at wing back. And I had a fancy for them against Glenflesk last weekend, but I never thought they would end up 10-point winners. Like, that is a huge performance. And they're building and building.
Nigel's done a good job with them, in fairness.
And James got 3 points the last day off the bench. They have Jack O'Neill back home as well. He's coming off. He's another option around the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Podge O'Connor comes on. Former Kerry panellist. Bit of experience at the back.
Basketballer as well.
Darragh Lyon, brilliant goal the weekend. Kerry panellist. They have a lot going for them at the moment. I think they're really dark horses in this competition. Now, we're down to the semi-finals, so nobody's really a dark horse.
The thing is, they've felt, you know,
they've gone under the radar the whole competition.
Like they have been beaten.
Was Austin Stacks who beat them last year?
Last year, yeah. So they have reached semi-final. I'd say, was it? Quarterfinal was it? Yeah. They have really been so unlucky. They've been so close, and I think that maybe their hour is near. Maybe, because to be honest with you, An Ghaeltacht I was very impressed with An Ghaeltacht against St Mary's, but maybe it was the conditions, etc. last week. But certainly they're very lucky to be still in the competition. And there was areas of that, like I'd want to see more if I was Fergal O'Shea from their midfielders. I'd want to see more from their attack. I'd want to see more from Rory O'Begley. Now I know he had two cruciates, and it's
just great to see him back playing football.
But it's great to see him back. Yeah. I want to see a lot more from the two O'Sheas, Tomas and the two Tomases. PJ McLeod is very consistent, in fairness. Now they started JJ McLeam instead of Gavin O'Kenada. But Gavin O'Kenada come on and he played well. Maybe he was kind of an injury or something. But you'll need to see a lot more. Brino Begley, he's a county star. He's got to produce the goods now the next day. Their cornerbacks are good. Two Sauerlands are two strong lads. But both youngsters like Sean O'Quinn and Begley. But
it's a very hard game to call. It's like every game in this competition. Yeah. You couldn't safely predict the outcome.
I had a fancy for An Ghaeltacht next to my final was Beaufort and Fossa. Obviously that's not going to happen now because they met. But I still have Fossa in there. And then after that I was thinking of Glenflesk and An Ghaeltacht to make sure. Obviously, Glenflesk have gone, so An Ghaeltacht moved up a peg. I completely had sort of written off Killarney Legion, but I think now looking at it and based on what I saw last weekend, if we can use that as the barometer, I think Legion are slight favourites to win this one.
coming down on one side of the fence, I would also give a small hesitant vote to Killarney Legion. I think the fact that they had an easier quarter-final last weekend might be a help on this occasion, because An Ghaeltacht had to go through the mill in very difficult weather conditions last Sunday. Legion got their game out of the way as well on Saturday.
Yeah.
There was no great fuss about it.
Yeah.
They got the job done. They were able to use the bench. An extra day of recovery. I just have that little feeling that Legion might just do it.
Yeah. I thought they'd beat Long Rangers and the first game here and they let me down badly, so I'm not too sure why I am supporting Killarney Legion here.
Although I think, just coming into my head now, did they meet maybe 2 years ago?
They did.
In Austin Sack Park, Legion and An Ghaeltacht. Was it a semi-final as well?
It was, and An Ghaeltacht
and I
beat
think
them.
An Ghaeltacht won, yes.
Yeah,
so that's interesting as well.
It is, but
I
it's
remember being at that game. Now I can't remember anything about it, but I just do know that An Ghaeltacht got the better of them. So
yeah, it's a tight one. So look, we both come down slightly in the Legion favour, but wouldn't surprise at all if An Ghaeltacht won. Now on to Junior Premier, and the first game in is at 5 o'clock in Connolly Park on Saturday, and that involves Keel and St Senans, who have a bit of history. They met last year, and Keel were strongly fancied to win that at home. That was a quarter-final, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they lost by 3-12 to 1-12.
Wow. Yeah, I was at that game, and that was the day that Jimmy Darcy tried to end my life.
Hasn't been seen on a podcast since, yeah?
No.
Did you bar him?
No, I didn't, but I tried to claim money off Keel and him, and it never worked. Yeah, they said, okay, they were guilty, but they considered I was insane.
All video footage was lost.
It was lost, yeah. Apparently, the producer, who's from the Dr. Crokes Club, destroyed all the video evidence.
Only fair.
Yes, so let's get down to Keel. They've been very impressive. Now, they're lucky as well. Brosnan must be the luckiest team in it, because they lost they drew with Hartford, but then they drew with Keel, and it took a late, very, very late Keith Evans goal to draw that one. And then they were impressive against Oniscall. They beat
Castle Gregory really put it up to them last week.
They did. Castle Gregory put them up to it. They're very impressive.
Keane O'Grady was outstanding. He scored 1-7 at the weekend. Absolutely fantastic individual.
But Gary Sayers coming back.
I think the big thing for Keel was Gary Sayers and Garrod Evans getting minutes off the bench.
Yeah.
Gary Sayers got 5 points and Garrod Evans got 2 points. They're huge players. Keel need them.
They do.
They need them starting.
They have a great goalkeeper as well.
I think Saturday evening. I think a player like Keith Evans now has to step up to the plate big time this weekend on Saturday. I don't think he was on the score sheet against Castle Gregory over the weekend. He's a Kerry senior panelist now. If you want to go to the very next level, you need, between him now and Killian Trant the next day, it's grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and bending it in the way that works for your particular team. So those two players have big responsibility on Saturday evening. The thing with St Senans is Rory O'Connell was missing at the weekend. They need him back. He's been one of their top scorers this season, and there's still no sign of Barry Mahoney getting back on the pitch. He's been pretty much injured since the County Hurling Championship finished up for Crotta, so that's a big blow for Senans. And then you look at the game last year. If you were to nail my colours to the mast for this one, Murt, I think that little bit of revenge factor as well, and between the absentees on one side and players coming back on the other side, I think this is an opportunity for Keel to win. Yeah,
I'd agree with you. St Senans are dangerous. Sean McGrath had a great game. I think he scored about 1-5, but he was very active in the first half.
Tomas Dillon, Sean O'Connell, they're very good full forward.
They're very good. Killian Trant was doing great work, and then Sean T. Dillon is some campaigner at the back.
Bill
he's
Keane.
a hard man, and Bill Keane played midfield, although he was wearing 6, and he was excellent.
That was a great win against Duar.
Yeah, we check with our war correspondent, Aidan Leahy.
He's gone on holidays.
All right, so
since he needed a break.
There was red cards and black cards and yellow cards and everything pretty bruising encounter. Cormac Dillon played very well.
That was always going to be a banana skin for St Senans. So for them to get through a trip to Dua is a really impressive win. Like, and between William Kirby now and Willie Evans again, you have two very smart operators on the sideline for this game. This is going to be very tight.
Yeah, it's going to be very tight. I think again could go to extra time even, but I think slightly I would fancy Keel again because of last year, as you say. Conley Park will probably suit them, and they've got other young players. Liam Evans is playing very good stuff as well.
Excellent at centre half back. He's probably their most consistent player. At this moment in time, playing really, really good football. So
we would, I suppose, just very, very narrow verdict there to Keel. Now, what about the game at Castleisland on Sunday? And that'll be all these games, of course, are live and Clubber. And you have Listry, again, another team, nearly team, playing Ballymac, the ultimate nearly team, I would maintain. They've been there so many times, so close. Remember their penalty shootout lost in the semi-final against Fieries last year in Fitzgerald Stadium.
Lost to Listowel the year before. Extra time thriller.
That great point by Jack McKelligot.
Listry then go back to previous year. Listry had the final one only for David Clifford.
Yes,
it was just a phenomenal performance in that 2022 final.
So does that make Listry favourites or Ballymac?
No, I think Ballymac are favourites. Listry have done really, really well. John Evans has brought an extra little bit of freshness to the mix. Rory Murphy's back.
But they're fortunate to beat Hartford.
I haven't seen the game now.
I've seen some of it. And
an extra time classic, controversial. A game that had everything.
2 pointers, there were 2 pointers, or 1 pointers, there were 2 pointers.
Listry have done really well to get this far.
Black cards.
Ronan Buckley. Like Aaron O'Shea was only a sub the last day for Listry. Whether that was because he was carrying an injury or just because the rest of the forwards are playing really well at the moment. But he's a huge asset. Yeah. Sean Lahan and Cahill O'Donoghue scored 130 in between them. Those two players in the inside
Rory
line.
Murphy's back in form.
I think Joe Clifford got an injury. He went off after about 20 minutes last week. He'd be a loss now if he doesn't make it back for Listry.
Yeah.
I saw Ballymac on Saturday afternoon.
What did you think?
They got no test of Ballyduff. They don't know exactly where they stand at this moment in time.
Have that few injuries?
That gives Listry an advantage.
It does.
They were seriously road tested by Ardfert. For Vinnie Horn is a big loss, obviously, for Ballymac. Yeah. Jack Joy was missing last weekend, should be back this weekend. I think he was on holidays.
Donald Daly's a fine player.
He'll add to the forward line. The return of Micheál Reedy, I think, was very significant.
Yeah. Tig Brick is a strong.
Tig Brick did really
Aidan
well.
Breen is Aidan Breen.
Aidan Breen and Dara Broderick in the middle of the field. You've a bit of a youth and a bit of experience.
And Niall Collins, of course.
Yeah, Niall Collins, a very effervescent, bubbly character.
Yeah.
He was
ex-Mount Hawk man.
He was involved in a few incidents last Saturday as well during the game. He scored a goal after about 15 seconds. Which put Ballyduff always with a mountain to climb thereafter. This again is going to be very, very tight. Like you say, Ballymac have been the nearly men for several seasons. They know it's getting to the stage where it's now or never. I think this is a real chance to go all the way to the title. I fancy them just about. I think it'll be close. I think Listry will really put it up to them as much as they possibly can.
I've seen them a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, beating Gaeil out in Castleisland. They're used to playing in Castleisland. Ballymac, I think
it's a bit like the An Ghaeltacht scenario. How much has the weather and the extra time taken out of Listry last Sunday?
Yes.
Ballymac again have the extra day of recovering.
And you were at it.
And in fairness, they don't have a lot to recover from really from the Ballyduff game. Like they never had to go full pelt. So
where are we going for?
I think the advantage is with Ballymac.
Yeah, I'll just give Ballymac the nod, but it doesn't surprise me again. I know we're trying to cover all bases and people will say, well, you're sitting on the fence. We're not really. They are very, very tight calls. Sometimes you can make a call and say, I think there's a 4 or 6 point differential there, but no, I definitely think it's going to be close, tight, depends on the day. Could be the wind, could be a 2-pointer, could be a penalty, could be anything. Refereeing decision, could be a black card, red card.
Yeah.
But at the end of the
There's
day,
so many imponderables and variables that
I think
decide these matches.
Ballymac have been down this road so many times. Surely they know the road to the final, whatever about winning the final. They've got to try and get there this year because they've gone so close, and the likes of Aiden.
But then again, if you were to pick any manager to stop him, John Evans would be one of the names up near the top of the list.
Yeah. I was in school with John actually. He was a year or two behind me in Kilcummin in the Carnegie. He was the best footballer in our team, although he was younger than the rest of us. And all you had to do was follow John, and there'd be 3 or 4
Did he
guys.
ever pass you the ball?
He did indirectly. He would be hauled down. You wouldn't be allowed it now cynically by 4 or 5 lads. He was that big and strong. So when the ball broke free, you were there to pick it up, put it in the back of the net. You'd nobody to beat. It was kind of a game IQ, you'd call it, football intelligence rather than ability. That doesn't surprise you, does it?
No.
Okay, on that bombshell. Right, we'll move on to the Junior Championship. Quickly, we'll go through these because, quite honest, I haven't been paying a lot of attention to Junior Championship. Nothing against junior football or novice football, if you were John Kennedy. Even in his absence, I bring it up, don't I?
I think the novice championship is starting the weekend after this weekend.
John, we'll have them over the coals and that, yeah. Now, Ghaeltacht are playing Cordal on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Would you be a Knockman or would you be
a St Kieran's local derby? So
yes.
They know each other very, very well.
This could be the McKelliget twins.
This could be one of the best games.
The Walshes, Mihal and Edmund.
I think Edmund Walsh is back.
He is.
Michael is playing. John is playing. Obviously, James is still involved with Kerry GA in New York. They're still in their championship.
Kerry are going down next year, I believe, for this opening round.
They're the defending champions, Kerry New York. So James is playing with them. I think Cordal, it's all about the absence of Philip O'Connor.
Yeah. So unfortunate.
Yeah, so unfortunate.
Well, they're real nice guys, isn't he? Gent.
Yeah, huge player to be missing for Cordal.
I had him down as a veteran and he's only 30 odd.
Yeah,
31, 32.
But I remember, people used to tell me stories when he was on the fringes of the Kerry senior panel. He'd be in and out for training matches and at the time, and even some of the Kerry senior players couldn't keep up with his pace and his fitness levels. He's unbelievable. He's just we wish him the speediest of recoveries and hope he gets back on the playing pitches again sometime in 2026. But
who are you going for?
I'm going for Ghaeltacht. I think on their home ground, they're always a tough nut to crack, and the absence of Philip, even though Sean O'Connell...
Is Eamon Walsh still in charge of him?
I don't think so.
No, yeah.
Even though Sean O'Connell and Killian Dennehy are huge players for Cordal, I think the absence of Philip will be too much, and Ghaeltacht might just edge this one.
I'll go along with you this time on the basis that you probably know more about what's happening. Ghaeltacht are North Kerry Championship, aren't they? And Cordal are East Kerry.
Yeah, but they do play together for St Kieran's then. Yeah,
that's an anomaly, isn't it? It only happened in Kerry. Now, we're really coming close to home. Tarbert, the perennial runners-up. Sorry, let's rephrase that. Tarbert, very good side, have been very impressive this year. How do you think they'll get on?
I wouldn't agree with you that we've. I wouldn't agree with you that we've been very good this year in the competition at all so far. We just got over Sneem Derrynan by a point, and were held to a draw by St Michael's Filemore. Played much better by all accounts against Scarta Glen in the third.
Is my co-commentator playing?
He will be playing, yeah. Indeed, still bringing his experience to bear on proceedings. Lisbole have been putting up massive scores in their section. They came through a group, I think, with Kilgarvan, Cromon and Two Sist. Huge scores, 5-20 something in their last game. Just Keane O'Canada, Cormac O'Canada playing really, really well. Mark O'Mani and Colm Hurley. I wouldn't underestimate Lisbole in the slightest.
Tomas Hannafin tells me they're a very mild-mannered, clean team, that don't, like back in his day, like when you played the Hannafins back then, Tomas and the brother and those, if you got past one, you wouldn't get past the second.
And the Caseys.
And the Caseys, Gabriel, they were unbelievable.
This is definitely a banana skin for Tarbert as well if they're not under game. But at the same time, with home advantage in Shannon Park, you'd have to give them the nod to emerge victorious.
Right, and Lisbon were novice champions. Only a couple of years ago, you were at the game in Churchill. That's the coldest field after Galris in this type of weather and wind and rain. You've no protection from the ocean.
That was a fantastic game, yeah.
It was.
Against
Went extra time, didn't
against
it?
Dua. They were deserving winners too that day.
Young Cormac just probably one of his first senior finals that I mentioned.
Yeah, played really, really well this ball.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough enough to crack.
Right. So we've 5 minutes to finish. Kilgarvan, the Foley's in charge down there, I suppose. Kilgarvan, and they're playing
Gaeil.
Gaeil, yeah.
Yeah,
you'd know Gaeil pretty well.
Kilgarvan are like Knocknagoshel. They're the only 2 teams in the competition with a 100% record. They won their 3 group fixtures.
Yeah.
Kilgarvan have been playing really, really well. Daniel Casey, a player you know well from the Kerry hurling team,
Pace
is in top form.
Burn, yeah.
Oshin Murphy, the Kelleher's, Jimmy and Cahill Kelleher, Patrick O'Shea, playing really well. Kilgarvan will fancy their chances on home soil.
probably plays with them as well. Does he play?
I think he's injured.
He's injured, yeah.
I think he's big loss to them.
Yeah.
But they've home advantage. For Gaeil, they've been thereabouts as well in this competition.
Ronan Foley is another player.
Got to the semi-final 2 seasons ago. Remember this year they won the novice and they went on to win the Munster novice title, and they had a great day out beating Gaeil from Cork.
Was that in Knocknaderry, was it?
Yeah, was it Knocknaderry or Ballygran? I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah,
I think
it
it was
used
down
to be
in
Knocknaderry. Ballygran, I think you're right, yeah.
I have a funny feeling we might get an away victory here. I just think if Robert Stack is on top form and the Toomey brothers...
Damien Stack?
No, Robert.
Or Robert, right.
And the Toomey brothers, Conor Dahi, Finan, the likes of Ian Mannix, Barry O'Neill, Diarmuid O'Mahony, Kenneth Mannix has done a really good job with Gaeil. And this is going to be tight as well. Like, you could easily just go down the card and say 4 home wins here, and you might be right. I just have a little feeling Gaeil might win on the road.
Yeah, I think so too, although Kilgarvan are very tough at home. And if you know the Kilgarvan pitch and even to climb up to it, not mind to drive up to it, is pretty difficult.
Like, it'll be no surprise if Kilgarvan win either.
Yeah, so my van is the final one at home to St Michael's Filmore.
Yeah, very hard one to call.
Yeah, St Michael's Filmore, good side. A lot of good young players coming through in St Michael's Filmore now.
Ian O'Sullivan is playing unbelievable stuff. The lads were telling me that St Michael's Filmore went to Tarbert 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was a draw, and he scored something like 1-9 out of 114. They said his 2-point shooting was different gravy. They couldn't handle him at all. Like, he was kicking, you're talking outside the 40-metre arc, these were like 60-metre points. He was absolutely superb. So a lot depends on if my van can keep him relatively quiet.
Yeah. But my van are quite a useful team. They've been playing well.
They have a nice mixture, my van. They've been steadily building over the last couple of years between Shane Stack and Martin Stack. A lot of experience there. And then you have Eamon O'Flaherty, big, strong, powerful
young
midfielder.
O'Keefe, isn't it?
Back from a long-term injury.
Yeah.
Darragh O'Keefe and Ger Brosnan. Jamie Maloney, really good young forwards. Ger Brosnan was in with Tralee CBS, he was, played Carnivery final and stuff.
Mike's son,
I think St Michael's Filmore will probably have the best player on the pitch in Ian O'Sullivan, but I think my van might just have a better all-round team, and with home advantage, they might just nick it.
There's some trips on that. Tarbert to
Lisbon
is tough.
St
And Kilgarvan, Borby.
Gaeil to go down to Kilgarvan.
Yeah. The only close one is
Knock and Cardle.
Knock and Cardle, right, let me say.
Yeah.
So we're going for 3 home wins there and possibly Beale to spoil the party.
Yeah, it could easily be 4 home wins. Or we could get another shock and you could end up with 2 away wins. Very hard to predict. So
listen, that's the lineup for the Kerry Petroleum Club Championships that is coming weekend. All bar the junior games from semi-final on, we'll do the junior games are live on Clubber. You can see them starting on Saturday, going right through till Sunday. See them all live and exclusive on Clubber TV. So we would ask you to, if you go along to the games, enjoy them. But if you can't, and if you have the Clubber Pass or you subscribe, you will see some action, some great action, some tight finishes. And maybe we will have another goal and we'll have another title or name to put on it. JC is becoming very creative with some of his titles.
Yeah, he's already working on something for this weekend.
I see. All right, yeah. He's called, well, I thought it was Mystic Murt. You can't have Mystic JC. That doesn't sound right. So
the Podinka is going into the English Oxford Dictionary apparently at the start of January.
Absolutely, it wouldn't surprise me. It'll be up on Wikipedia anyway if JC is anything to go with.
I suppose, Murt, just before we go, and you mentioned it earlier at the start of the programme, it would be remiss of us not to mention, if someone wants their football fix that little bit earlier, we have the 4 quarterfinals in the County Minor Football Championship tomorrow night. If you're in Strand Road for St Brendan's v North Kerry, in Lewis Road for Dr. Crokes against Killarney Legion, you could make a trip to Scartaglin for the defending champions, St Kieran's against West Kerry, or all the way down to Waterville for South Kerry against East Kerry. 4 fascinating matches involving the best young players in the county.
So that's it. They talk about the split season, but the only people that are splitting is us that are trying to cover it, etc. We're almost out of energy, but we'll survive, and we're looking forward to the action, of course. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and next week with maybe a couple of extras, hopefully, because myself and John are even tired of talking now, and it's very difficult for me to admit that I'm tired of talking, but I am. And next week, we'll be hoping that we'll have at least John Kennedy back and maybe Clive to return after his sojourn in the Junior Premier Championship. And we'll see what his thoughts on that are. Actually, we better not. So that's our lot for this week. We'll be back again next week. Enjoy the games, and to the players, match officials, etc. Best of luck to everybody.